We knew the money was coming from somewhere, right? The matching tents, the professionally printed signs, all the supplies. Well, now we know that they were, at least in part, indirectly paid for by some of America's wealthiest liberal families. Politico did an investigation. Part of it says President Joe Biden has been dogged for months by pro-Palestinian protesters calling him Genocide Joe. But some of the groups behind the demonstrations received financial backing from philanthropists pushing hard for his reelection.
Well, actually, I think this thing that's going on right now couldn't be going on right now without the influence of the internet.
Right.
The internet has created this mind virus that's sweeping through college campuses and also the universities and the Marxist philosophies that they've been pushing in universities because of they've all been infiltrated by Russia, by the former Soviet Union, and now by China and Russia together. For sure, they're influencing. They push the wokest teachers, the wokest professors, the nuttiest policies, and they're literally doing it to deteriorate the fabric of American democracy.
You're what? You're Hamas?
Yes, we're all Hamas.
They have plans for it. They've thought about it. Yuri Bezmenov talked about this in 1984.
I've seen that clip. It's crazy.
Crazy.
It's crazy.
When you watch it today, they were right.
It's very prophetic.
He did it.
Yeah.
Ideological subversion. That is a phrase that I'm afraid some Americans don't fully understand. When the Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion, what do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the slow process which we call either ideological subversion or active measures, активные мероприятия in the language of the KGB, or psychological warfare. What it basically means is to change the perception of reality of every American to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions in the interests of defending themselves, their families, their community, and their country. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in four basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. Why that many years? Because this is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students in the country of your enemy, exposed to the ideology of the enemy. In other words, Marxism-Leninism ideology is being pumped into the soft heads of at least 3 generations of American students without being challenged or counterbalanced by the basic values of American.
There is a movement to radicalize young people, and I'm not going to wait until it's done and all of a sudden acknowledge the existence of it. This is a global problem that young people are being influenced by those who are professionals at radicalizing our children. And I'm not going to allow that to happen as the mayor of the city of New York.
The NYPD confirming that 29% of those arrested at Columbia, not students.
There is some organization behind this movement. The level of organization that we're seeing in both of these encampments here and at Columbia. Leaflets on how to protest, leaflets on how to commit civil disobedience, leaflets on what to do when you get arrested, leaflets on what to say to the police when they ask you. There is somebody funding this. There is somebody radicalizing our students, and our Deputy Commissioner of Counterterrorism and Intelligence will find out who it is.
Donors include some of the biggest names in Democratic circles: Gates, Soros, Rockefeller, and Pritzker, according to a Politico analysis. The Gates Foundation says that their donations to these groups are not active. They have stopped. But not George Soros. You see in December, $300,000, November, $350,000, September, $250,000. Susan Pritzker, October, $3,300. Nicholas Pritzker, November, $3,300. David Rockefeller, in September, $10,000. That would be donations to the Biden. That is a list of Biden campaign donors who are funding some of these groups that are behind the anti-Israel college protests.
These protests are not organic. They are organized by, a lot of times, left-wing dark money, i.e. Jorge Soros.
One of them.
Who hates America, who hates any sort of nationalistic pride. He's a globalist. And this is the disgustingness of what happens when you can't basically embrace having pride in your country. Someone like Soros and the money that he's been raising, he has no loyalty to any country. He has no loyalty to anything but his ideology. He has no loyalty to America, no loyalty to London, the Bank of London that he brought down. He has no loyalty to Hungary, can't even go back to Hungary. So a lot of this is traced back to Soros and the open society.
And then there are the groups, so many it's hard to keep track, that are the organizing muscle behind so much of what we've seen.
We actually see a lot of the names of the organizations appear on the flyers calling for these protests.
Jonathan Schanzer is a former Treasury Department official who specialized in terror funding.
They are extremely organized. There are a lot of the Islamist-leaning groups that I think many of us have come to expect here. Groups like the Council on American Islamic Relations, groups like Americans for Muslims in Palestine, Students for Justice in Palestine, Jewish Voices for Peace. The list goes on. But I think the point here is that these are not spontaneous. They are not necessarily organic. They are cultivated by groups that have an axe to grind.
SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine. This protest outside Columbia, a group called Within Our Lifetime. In the hierarchy of these groups, they are an offshoot of SJP. And then there's Quad, which came together when Columbia banned SJP. Their calls to action on social media and at all hours throughout the day on the encrypted app Telegram. Urgent pleas asking protesters to come immediately to Columbia.
In March, they asked college campus kids, what are the issues that matter most to you? This was number 14 out of 16. Yeah. Why did it become the #1 issue in 1 month? How does that happen? People go, well, this is what these kids care about. Do they really? Do they really suddenly care about the Middle East peace and the Palestinian cause?
Well,
there's something that doesn't gel here.
What I appreciate about this Politico story is now we're peeling back the onion and we're learning who's supporting them.
Money.
Because we've all looked at these crowds and said, who has time to do this? Don't they have jobs? Like, how can you be at a college campus, 50% of them that are arrested are not even at the school? How do they have time to leave their jobs and go protest all day long and live in a tent? What about their kids? What about their families? And this article shows you how they do it. This is their job. They're getting paid to do this. And the Susan and Nick Pritzker group, they're heirs to the Hyatt hotel empire. So next time you stay at a Hyatt hotel, you remember this.
And the fact that 60% of the of those arrested at one university, and it's always like around half, are not even students, that ought to tell you something about who these people are and the degree to which it is orchestrated.
This is all those criminal illegal invaders because we were tracking them from the caravans that were coming in to the United States to our border. And in the interior of the U.S. Today, over 1,000 of the same devices are present that we've been tracking these people at over 21 protests and growing across America.
Where did they get the device and what device is being tracked?
So this is Homeland Security gives them at the border a device, a cell phone or something. So
the free phone. Welcome to America.
Yeah, remember the free phone? And then, by the way, to let them know, and remember we said this on this podcast, they're in here, they're waiting around on street corners. Some guy in New York made a video where this black dude walks into the corner and he goes, look at all these people. There's like 10 of them there, 10 of them there, as if they're waiting for the call. The call just was made. This is the first call. And the call is go to this university, go there, agitate, and because guess what? We let you into the country.
So the free phones are now in these universities.
The free phones on the university. Yeah, by the way. And now these people are going to be able to vote as well. And then what if they want them to do something else? What if one of those guys, Tom, I'm going to go on a limb, he gets a phone call and it's like, hey, listen, you have to go do that terrorist thing that we wanted you to do. Go to this school, go to this place. And,
allegedly that is possible.
Of course it is.
By the way,
it's
check this out.
What will you guys do when the police come right in here and, end up maybe handcuffing people and arresting them?
We'll do what we always done. We'll get arrested, just like the criminals in the subway. They're always right back out in 24 hours.
Marxists are beating up Jews, breaking into buildings and raising foreign flags, while Biden says Republicans are America's top threat. Biden hasn't even made a phone call to the president of Columbia. Hillary's a professor at Columbia. She hasn't said a word. Obama graduated from Columbia. Where is he? This country needs to get it together.
To every college president, I say remove the encampments immediately, vanquish the radicals, and take back our campuses for all of the normal students who want a safe place from which to learn.
Yes, the kids are activists, Will, but the professors in a lot of places are driving the train.
Yeah, I mean, here's some of the examples that have been reported over the last couple of months. Controversial statements made on campuses. Joseph Mossad, Columbia, remarks praising the Hamas attack.
Mohammed Abdu, supportive statements about Hamas and Hezbollah. These are known terrorist organizations whose charters, the charters specifically call for the destruction of all Jews and the state of Israel. That's their flags, their causes, they're all clear about it.
Catherine Frank alleged discriminatory comments against Israeli students. Saeed Hussein at Princeton.
Yeah, I mean,
these endorsing
again, you got to look at the funding behind a lot of where these professors are getting their seats, and there's different departments that come along with that. The money's coming from the UAE and other places with very different views. Not as much funding in support of, say, the Jewish cause.
Yeah, Penn as well, and Norton, allegations of sharing anti-Semitic content.